Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of E-commerce Marketing Chats with myself, Charles, and Jimmy, the main man. How's it going?
Good man. I've just told Charles just before the call that I've actually just got off a client call, so everything that I'm kind of working on at the moment is very fresh in my mind. So probably get an insight into exactly what I've been working on this week, what I'm wanting to work on more, and also I think Charles was keen to explore some stuff on the Google Search Console, and I also have some questions based off the call that I just had too. So it should be hopefully an informative chat today for everyone, and we can all drive some value from different parts of the chat. I think probably the Search Console stuff, Charles, is probably where I'd want to start because the other
Yeah,
things that
sure.
I want to talk about are quite technical. And I don't want to drown out half the audience with really technical chat straight up. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
makes
let's
sense.
keep it
Makes sense.
light and let's have a chat about what you're seeing in Search Console recently.
Yeah, so I was just saying to Jimmy before we click the record button here is I was working with one of my clients this week, and I found basically I wanted to stress the importance of using Google Search Console to spot keyword opportunities and identifying keywords that you can then build collection and product pages around. So, cut a long story short, I was able to find that there was a particular keyword phrase, and from that keyword phrase, there was many different variations of that keyword, which made sense to build individual collection pages and build those out and optimize for each of those keyword variations. And from that, within a week, we've already seen some really impressive results. They're ranking, on the first page of Google in the top positions as well for a number of those pages and keywords that we've targeted, and they're driving clicks as well. So I think, there's a perception with SEO that it takes a long time to see results, and in my experience, that's not always true. Yes, it takes time to see the full ROI, i.e., for it to equate to sales for the business. But equally, you can get a page optimized and within a matter of days or within a week have a lot of impressions, a lot of clicks, and a lot of traffic that is getting driven to your site. So, um, yeah, that was something that I
On
wanted
that,
to kind
Charles,
of.
and do you have like not obviously giving your client as an example, but do you have examples of what you mean about the keyword variations or what they look like and how you split them up? I'm just from my thinking, I'm trying to think of an example, and I think something that I've been researching lately is actually like magnesium supplements, and I was completely unaware that there's like seven or eight, or probably even more different forms of magnesium.
Yeah.
When a lot of people hear magnesium, they just think, muscle relaxant, helps them sleep type thing. But what I've found recently is there's magnesium malate, magnesium citrate, magnesium, like all these different forms that actually treat different things. Like they're so you can magnesium citrate's probably a good one, only because it's gone a little bit viral on TikTok lately. There was a woman, for better terms, who was quite banked up and hadn't taken a number two in a little while and drank a whole bottle of magnesium citrate and was you know for better terms shitting for the next week. So it's like you can use it for gut cleanse. Is that a
Yeah.
good example about what you mean in terms of like magnesium supplements, but then, there's all these different branches that actually treat different things, so you could potentially break them out into their own categories, I guess. Is that kind of in line of what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I can give you without giving you the exact keyword, I can give you an idea from my client. So basically, my one of my clients, they sell parts and accessories for a truck, an automobile truck. And what we were finding was the main keyword that we were targeting for the homepage, which is related to accessories. There's keyword slash accessories. Um, they were searching for different variations of that truck. So they were searching for like first generation accessory for this particular truck, second
Gotcha.
generation accessory. And they were basically putting either the generation of the truck that they were looking for in terms of the parts and accessories they were looking for, or they were putting the date. So they're putting like 2024 accessories for this vehicle. So what we did is we built out those generation pages for the client, and we added those also on the homepage as well, because we found that there was a lot of search volume and we were getting a lot of impressions, and we realized that that was how people were wanting to find and navigate around the site, if that
That
makes
makes
sense.
sense. And it's actually a really cool example. And it's something random that just sprung to my mind is, um, for example, like Pokemon cards. If someone's searching, Pokemon card trading, and then they come to the homepage, and some people wanting base set Pokemon cards, or jungle Pokemon cards, or fossil Pokemon cards, or whatever collection they've got recently. Um, I can see how that would be like a really cool strategy rather than just, we're Pokemon card traders. We trade all types of Pokemon cards, and like actually listing them by the set that they're in and what people potentially might be searching for.
Yeah,
Um, I think I think that could be applied across so many industries. Even I'm thinking of another client of mine at the moment. Like they sell like journals, I guess, and calendars, but it's really important for them that they year match their journals, because
yeah,
when someone's searching for a new journal, you want the current year that you're in. And the old stock, you kind of want to keep it in its own collection. You don't want it in. And with Shopify, it can be quite hard, because if you sort by bestsellers and you've just uploaded a new year, so say 2025, you've just uploaded them, all the 2024 ones are going to outrank them for bestsellers, because Shopify is a bit frustrating in terms of they sort their bestsellers by lifetime. It's not over the last 30 days. So if you've sold thousands of one product 5 years ago, it's still going to show up as your best selling product, even if you haven't sold any of it in the last 4 years. Um,
yeah.
which can be frustrating. There are apps that you can. There's always an app to fix it, but the thing is, all these business owners are already paying a lot of money for a lot of different apps that they're using. So yeah, it's to fix that and sort it by the last. I think it's relevant for businesses with really large SKUs. Um, Especially if they sold a lot of something years ago. If you're running a bestsellers collection on the homepage, you don't want that one that sold, tons of it 5 years ago, uh, in there. You want what's sold the most over like the last
Really.
month and keep it fresh.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, it's making sure that you're giving prominence to your bestsellers and not putting things on the page unnecessarily that that you don't want to sell fundamentally. So, I mean, just on that, so a few kind of key kind of tactics or elements in order to, once you've built those, once you've found the opportunity in terms of the right keywords, and say it's year related or it's a particular model, you want to make sure that once you've built that page, in your SEO meta title and your description, you're including that year or that model in that title and description, and you're putting that into your H1, your headline tag, so the page title. And even if you can create a little description, if it's a collection page or a product description, making sure that you're including that keyword in those four different elements on the page is going to be super important to getting that to rank. It's just something that, yeah, we're still seeing is very overlooked, is optimizing and making sure that you've got the keyword in those key elements.
I don't know that this is kind of an SEO question, Charles, but So one of my clients, this one is a supplement space, but they do really well on ranking organically for brands where they're kind of the first to have them on their site, and they kind of establish that ground hold. And then they actually drive a lot of traffic for new brands that they bring onto the website. And like, I'm not an SEO specialist, but I go through and, change the meta descriptions and the titles of collections and things like that to try to help. But I think where I would like to make ground is some of the bigger brands that are established that they aren't even showing on, the first 5 pages for, like getting some strategies around how we can, build up that, I guess, silo for that particular brand, because that's probably what I haven't done a lot of, like building a lot of silos around brands or products that are super competitive, but we don't rank well for. Because, my strategy always is just pay for it, show up on top of everyone's, like
Mm.
with the Google ads. But I'm starting based on the Google Search Console. I'm starting to see more and more the power of just getting free traffic. And some of the brands I've seen easily get over $500,000 worth of free traffic from SEO. It's insane. But to be able to do that for this particular client that I have in mind, like, we really need to start breaking into some of the bigger the bigger brands. And when I say bigger brands, they're not necessarily like globally known. They're just bigger and quite competitive in their space. But yeah, in terms of, say there was a brand that I wanted to target, like, what strategies can I use to build a silo around building content? Or because I've optimized the title, I've optimized the
Yep.
meta descriptions, and they've been optimized, I'd say, for about 6 months now. So the meta stuff is done, but now I need some additional strategies to help me build on top of that.
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying is you've done the initial optimization work in terms of optimizing the meta title, the description. Maybe you've added in a uh, collection description as well. So you've got the what I would call the on-page SEO as good as you think you can get it, but you're not quite seeing the improvements in rankings, or you've got it up to a certain level, but now you're competing against some top brands and you're struggling to get it higher. So the next step that I would take would be, in that situation, assuming that you've kind of looked at the kind of customer experience and the page, and you're confident that you're providing the customer with a good user experience and journey, and you've maybe cross-referenced that against those that are higher up in terms of the keyword that you're competing for. The next step really is to add a bit more fuel to the fire in terms of building what we call backlinks. So we want to be building links to that page. Now, the hard part about building backlinks in 2025 is the old ways of just building a bunch of spammy links to that page. It doesn't really work anymore. Maybe 10 years ago that you could just point a bunch of what we call PBN links, and it would give you a boost in rankings. The best way I see links that are built now really is mainly through high quality guest blogs. And what I would be doing is I would be building blog content that are associated to that particular collection page that you want to rank higher for, or that product page you want to rank higher for. That's going to drive traffic organically to the blog and also pass authority through to that collection or product page. And then I would build links to that individual blog to continue to get that to rank higher, rather than pointing it directly to the collection or product page.
Okay.
That's if I was building like building links and I was using something like guest blogs. So I would basically be building links to blogs rather than directly to collection and product pages. It's just a little bit more natural. and it's probably not going to get you in trouble with Google when you're building those links. The other option really is to focus on investing in digital PR, because really digital PR, they're the highest value links now. So getting quality links from publications that are relevant to your industry, or very high quality news publications, where may not be industry related, but if you can get a link on Forbes or one of these type of high level websites, that's going to give you a significant boost versus just building a bunch of low level links that you can just easily pay for. So there's no quick fix. Backlinks will certainly have one of the strongest impact. But I would first be building content first, like additional supporting content through blogs, through resource pages that link to your collection and product pages.
Where would so I won't mention their name unless you say like it would be a good idea, but someone in the directory that you run, Charles, I know that they have kind of a white hat link building service. Is something like that valuable?
Yeah, it is. I would. The thing with link vendors is there's a lot of them, and about 95%, maybe even more, are complete crap, to put it frankly. So you need to know firstly how they're generating the links. Are they, in the case that the company that you just mentioned, I know for sure they're doing natural outreach, so they're not actually paying for the links, which there's nothing wrong with.
Then we'll give him a shout out if you think that they're reputable, because
this
is the thing people are going to
get
stung on. They're going to go to their SEO companies and be like, oh, I need some backlinks, and then next thing you know, they're going to have 200 spam links. Like, I've seen, you would have seen it much more than me, but I've seen it a lot, and I'm not even really in the SEO space. So the fact that we're talking about backlinks, like, let's give someone somewhere that they can go, that if they're like, hey, I do want to invest in this, just try it. I know there is someone on your directory list that offers that service. I haven't used it personally, but I think you just said, Charles, you have used it.
Yeah, I've used them. Yeah, Russell. So it's Russell's company, Russell Lombo. I've used them before for some of my clients, and they do really good work. And the thing about the Russell's kind of process is they do natural outreach, so they never pay for any links. What you'll find with a lot of vendors is they already have a lot of pre-existing relationships, and often the links that they're trying to get are low quality links because they want to try and increase their margin. So they basically created a deal with that particular publication, and they're trying to squeeze as much margin out to then push that onto the client. Not to say that buying links is necessarily a bad thing. I do know, I have used a number of link vendors over the years, and I've paid for those links, and they've driven results, and they're good. You have to just analyze and check where you're getting a link from. When you've kind of been in the game as long as I have, you can quite quickly spot what is a good quality site and what's not. Typically, if it's like a typical blog site and they're talking about like every single subject from dog walking to, kitchen kettles,
hair transplants,
like hair transplant, everything. Like everything. Like, it's reality is they're not going to be a quality site, and it's really just a way to. It's almost what we call a link farm. They're just kind of creating this fake website in order to extract as much money from backlinks, basically. So you want to get links from like niche relevant websites if you are looking at sites that just focus on content. Um, I mean, even looking at building partnerships. So, for example, like the directory that I've just that I've just built. Um, you know, I'm featuring Jimmy's company on there, Jimmy and his agency, and he's effectively generated a backlink because I've included a link to his website. So it's looking at some of your existing relationships potentially offline as well and seeing where's the opportunities. Are you speaking at an event, and they've got an event website, and then they feature you with your profile with a link back to your website. So try and look at link building holistically and see where's the opportunities there. I mean, I know some people, for example, that they will get featured on podcasts, and that podcast will also publish that on their website and then link back to the guest's website. So there's various different ways to look at link building. The key is you want to focus on things that are going to be deemed as more natural, not just buying 1,000 links off Fiverr, which is most likely going to get you a Google penalty than improve your Google rankings.
Back on the topic, so around when we were talking about brands before, and let's use one of the biggest brands in the world, for example. Not that I'd want to rank, well, I would like to rank for this, but it's not very likely. Let's take Nike, for example. So
Yep.
just as if we were to write a blog post about Nike, like how would it be structured? Like, would you be talking about the brand, or are you looking at, their top 5 highest selling shoes and then like talking about the benefits of each? Like, what would your approach be to actually write an article about a brand?
Yeah, I mean, I would focus first on what are people searching for around particular, let's say we're using Nike as an example. I would be looking at what people are actually searching for related to Nike products. There's various tools out there that I find like valuable in terms of doing keyword research. So you can look at something like Answer the Public, where you can see, you can type in a keyword. So you typed in Nike, it will give you a list of questions that people are searching for. And then I would start to structure a blog post around one of those questions or a group of those questions that relate to each other. Gotcha. That's one way I would look at it. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't focus on just building out like a blog post that's like, these are the top 10 Nike trainers. If you're Nike, I want to be creating something that's of real value to that audience. It might be around deep diving into
like marathon running and
exactly,
the
tips for doing
carbon
marathon
plates
running
within running shoes.
Yeah. And then if I was Nike, I would be looking at all the sports that they're involved in, and I'd be building content around that. I would be looking at who are the biggest sports people that they're promoting, and then creating some content around those folks, because that's going to drive a lot of traffic. So it's kind of seeing what people are searching for and then starting to build content around that, and then subtly including links into that blog content that then point out to your individual products or collections where it's relevant on the page, of course.
No, that makes
you don't
sense.
want to
Sort of
overdo
giving me a couple of ideas to explore as well. So that's really good in terms of, because I guess when I first heard, write a blog post about a brand, my brain went straight to, that would be the most boring post ever, like the history of Nike. It's like, they're established in 18 blah blah blah, and this is Nike and this is how they've evolved. But then because I've been searching myself lately, like the carbon fiber plates in running shoes, and the Nike's obviously a big player in that space, and then you could highlight the marathon runners that have used their shoes and their personal best times for that kind of article. And then, yeah, same, you could do probably something similar for Nike golfing shoes and have a look at the golfing athletes that are using them and things like that. It's giving me some ideas for um, other clients and how we could approach making some inroad into, because I don't think reaching those big brands for these particular clients that I'm thinking of would be like it'd be nowhere near as competitive as trying to rank for Nike stuff, but it's still a competitive space. But I think that it's achievable, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Whereas if a client came to me and said, "Oh, we want to rank on the first page for Nike shoes," it's like, yeah, good luck. So,
yeah, yeah,
whereas the areas that I'm exploring, I think it is quite doable, and the results that are up there currently aren't that great. So I think there are definitely areas that we could explore. Again, and answer the public's a good one. Like the fact that you just mentioned that, I was like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Because I've used it before. I should have just put this brand in there and actually have a look at what people are searching for around it, and then get some ideas around an article that you could write for a brand. So I just wanted to put that out there in case someone's listening and they think, oh, I'll just write an article around the brand. And then it's like, okay, well, where do you start? What do you even write about the brand? So I think answer to the public is a great shout because it gives people a starting point about questions that people are actually asking around that particular brand. And then you can find a little subset of that and, put together a really informative kind of blog post around that. I know, like, we've definitely discussed over the last couple of weeks how informational posts are being taken over by AI. I still think there's a place for them in e-commerce, though. From what I'm seeing currently, anyway. Um, I think AI will take a little bit of that, definitely. But when we talk about AI crushing like informational sites, I think it's the informational sites that rely purely on information. With e-commerce, these blogs are kind of supplementing those sites, and even if the traffic does drop off a little bit from those kind of organic informational posts, it's not going to crush a whole business because you've got an e-commerce business behind that these organic posts are just driving additional traffic to. Whereas if your sole business model was like an affiliate marketing site that relied on informational queries, I think those particular and your only traffic source was Google, I think those sites are going to struggle. I still think there's a space for affiliate marketing where they can drive and still rank on Google, but where they can also drive a ton of traffic from like TikTok and Instagram. I still think there's a place for it with those business models at the moment. But yeah, I don't want people to think, oh, you just 2 weeks ago you said, informational blog posts are a waste of time. Yes, if that's your sole business model, but I still think there's definitely a carved out spot for it in e-commerce at the moment.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm actually working on with a client is we're taking a blog in the traditional sense and we're kind of evolving it more into a content hub. So one of the ideas that I came to them with was, look, they've got a big YouTube following. They're constantly pumping out new videos. Why don't we take those videos, take the transcribes from those videos and convert those into blogs using something like Claude, ChatGPT, and then having the video and a supporting blog to go with it. So sometimes you don't always have to create brand new content from scratch in a written form. You can include different multimedia to be included in your blog or content hub that just increases the variety and provides the best possible experience and resource for your customers that are actually viewing the content. So yeah, try and you've when it comes to blogs as well, it's really about providing quality content, whether it's written with supporting video content, as well as incorporating a really nice visual design. That's going to be the perfect formula to actually drive more organic traffic to that resource hub or blog, if you want to call it that. So yeah, that was just a
Yeah,
couple of
I
things
don't know
that
why, but
I've
I've
been kind
just
of Yeah. Go ahead, Jerry.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry, you go, Charles. I think I'm lagging a bit.
No, it's all good. Yeah, no, that I was just saying that that's something that I'm experimenting with at the moment with one of my clients that they've already built, a huge archive of content. It's just not in a written form at the moment. So we may as well use some of their videos and then convert them using the power of AI. And we've now got an endless amount of content that we can use, opposed to just constantly writing uh, written form blog content.
I think because I haven't really been involved in the organic side very much over kind of my internet marketing career, I guess. I've just been more involved in it lately, especially for one client, and I love it. I love the data side of it. I don't particularly love the content creation side of it,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
probably why I stick to Google Ads. But yeah, it's fascinating to me, like that they've been able to get in early on some new brands, that they've been able to get in early on some influencers that have popped up and written about them and driven huge amounts of traffic from it. And yeah, I've seen the opportunity there if you can get it right. And it happens quickly. Like
Yeah.
I, if anyone that's dealt with an SEO agency before, they'd be used to hearing, oh, you won't see any results for 6 to 12 months, which might be the case with some forms of SEO. But if you can get on to just say that you're first on like an influencer that's just started small and you think, okay, this person really has some substance and potential. I can see them growing a huge audience. If you're one of the first to write about them and you're ranking, if they do explode and they're being, searched for on Google massively, um, yeah, you could cash in a lot. Put it this way, I probably don't like to use this person as an example just because of how much they're disliked on the internet. But just think about if you had written a really large article on Andrew Tate before he was the most Googled person in the world, and you were promoting his course. I can tell you now the arbitrage because they allowed people to bid on their brand name when they first launched. I know people that were spending $6,000 on on ads promoting this course, making kind of 100x. They were making 600K a month, um, which is insane. But that's the arbitrage opportunity you've got organically to jump on some of these people in the space early, and kind of carve out your place in that organic traffic kind of realm for these people. And it can be harder to do on paid ads because depending on who they are, some of the names are trademarked, so you can't actually advertise on them directly. But organically, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I think, over the years, the brands that do the best when it comes to producing organic content are simply the ones that are the most consistent. Yes, you have to have the right optimization strategy and the right keywords behind. Fundamentally, if you don't have the core SEO elements set up correctly, you could have the best quality piece of content, but it's not going to be able to rank. However, having said that, so many companies that I speak to over the years, they're like, yeah, I've written, you know, 3 or 4 blogs. I'm like, okay, but how often are you actually publishing content? Maybe like once a month, or they publish like 4 blogs in 4 months, and then and they're not seeing results, so they give up. And I look at the quality of the content. I'm like, it's not great, and also you're just not consistent enough. They're not producing enough, and they're not able to test because not. I'll be honest with you. Not every blog that you produce is going to be a home run. There will be. You could have the same strategy in terms of the SEO for each of the blogs, and one will perform far better than another one. So it really depends, and it really is a matter of testing, and that means having enough volume. You do need to produce enough content to be able to consistently see which ones perform well. And from that, you can then focus on more of that type of content that you're seeing results for. If you're seeing, like, for example, in the case that you mentioned, that you wrote an article around an influencer and you're seeing that perform really well, well, are there any other influencers that you could write about that will also perform well? So consistency and for a long enough period of time is so important. It's at speed of execution. We've talked about, haven't we? We've drummed on about how important it is to execute fast. And as I've known with clients in the past, they can have a huge archive of blogs just sitting there. If they're not published on the website, you're never going to see any results. So that's just something that I wanted to stress the importance of, because we can give you the right strategy, but if you don't go off and execute on it, nothing's going to happen.
So for the solo business owner that might be listening to this, that's wearing all hats for their e-commerce business, how viable would you say is the blog content generated via AI? I've got my thoughts on it, and they're probably going to differ from yours, I think, Giles,
No, I
but it'd
mean,
be
look,
interesting to hear what you have to
I
say.
yeah, I'm coming round to the fact that AI content is becoming better and better, and we have to be realistic. If you are starting out and you're still trying to scale your e-commerce store and you're on a relatively small budget, are you going to be able to afford a content writer that's going to be able to produce you content every single week? Probably not. But are you able to afford, $9.99 for an AI content tool that's going to produce you a piece of content which may not be quite as good as that human writer, but it's not far off? So, yeah, in that situation, I would probably use AI content, but I wouldn't just create that content and, hit the publish button. And I would certainly go through it, refine it. I would even look at if you could create the content with AI and have the budget to hire a writer just to edit it. I think that's a nice balance, because they're going to be able to, as a writer, know what feels a bit robotic in the copy or doesn't make sense, and you're going to be able to fact check it and look at the data to make sure that what AI produced is correct and of quality. So, that would be my stance on it. I think there's no doubt that AI speeds things up, and the quality of the content is getting a lot better than it was even 12 months ago.
Yeah. Well, it's similar along my line of thought. The only thing is, a lot of SEOs, as soon as you hear AI content, it's like, oh, your website's going to be like penalized by Google, blah blah blah. It's like, I was like, yeah, but I'm with you. Like, and I was going to say this before you mentioned it. You get the AI to write it, but it's not cut and paste straight from the AI onto your website. It's you want to add images, you want to add formatting, you want to make it look nice. You may have to edit a few things in the copy as well, but I think, yeah, definitely for the layout and different things like that, AI is like, put it this way, I wouldn't be putting out any content for clients if AI didn't exist, because coming up with those ideas is probably the hardest part and the part that I hate the most. If I can get 90% of the way from AI and just fix it up, like, I can do that. I'm for that. And if it's the difference between not having content and having it, like, I would definitely go on the side of having it, especially for e-commerce businesses.
Yeah. I would take that time and energy as well once you've created the content with AI, and I'd focus on the actual design of the blog and the user experience, because you can have exactly the same copy on two different websites, and one will perform far better organically simply because it's designed on a better page. So I would be looking at, can you include custom images within your blogs to break up the text? Do you have a supporting video that you can use, or can you record a video to include within that blog? Could you create, a nice visual page that's got like a graphically designed table of content where when you click on a link, it scrolls you down to the relevant section? All of these things improve the user experience and are a signal to Google that this is a quality page. So there's certainly something that I would advise you look at as well when you're creating the content, not just to focus on the actual quality of the written content, but actually where that content is being presented.
Yeah, and I am testing an app on Shopify that kind of definitely helps with that at the moment. It's called Bloggle. I sent you through, Charles,
Yeah,
kind
look,
of my
really good.
first draft version of an article that I did put together. And visually, it looks well, put it this way, it looks much better than a cut and paste from AI. I will say it did take a long time to format though. So just
Okay,
because the
interesting.
article was quite big and I was adding so many products to the article, um, the app kept freezing on me, and I've got an i9 processor on my laptop, so I've got a pretty high powered laptop, and it was freezing on me with large amounts of content, and large amounts of image product blocks and things like that. But overall, I think the appearance of it has been not too bad. So I'm still testing it, but yeah, if you're wanting assistance with making your blogs look better, definitely give Bloggle a test run and see how it goes. It's not the cheapest app. I think it's like $50 a month or something. But put it in perspective, like you might pay, well, it's $50 a month, so you pay 600 US dollars a year. If one of those blogs is like, if one of those blogs is able to bring in like 500 visitors traffic a week, yeah, you should well and truly be able to make back that investment on that app, especially being an e-commerce store. So yeah, it's called Bloggle. It's something that I'm experimenting with at the moment. I won't 100% recommend it at the moment, but early testing has been promising. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it looked good for what you sent over. Um, yeah, it's certainly impressive, and you've got the products embedded within the page as well. So hopefully that's going to increase conversions. Jimmy,
Well,
you wanted to cover a few things, didn't you? We're deep
yeah, I just
diving
want to
now
talk.
into the technical. With
Yeah,
with
and
20
it's
minutes
it's
to go.
around. It's a yeah. Well, I don't want to go too deep and put people to sleep, but I want to make people aware of kind of the discrepancies in tracking and how different things are actually tracked and where you should actually be. So majority of people will do what we call client side tracking, or customer side tracking, which is basically using third party cookies, using tracking tags and all that kind of stuff. And it's great, but what you'll find is if you compare your Shopify revenue and traffic results to your Google Analytics 4 results, you're probably missing between 20 to 30% of traffic and revenue. The alternative is server side tracking, which is highly technical. And even for me, I've had to research it even a bit this week just to figure out the ins and outs of it. And the reason that I've had to do that this week is for the last 2.5 years, for all my clients, I've been using an app that has technically been for free for 2.5 years. And they've just announced now that they're moving to a paid version, but the paid version is extortionary. Like, I need to find a different alternative. It's not viable for my clients to keep using that app, even though it's been fantastic. I need to find an alternative, and your options are, when you're tracking, for server side, is you can get a Shopify app that handles everything, and it does kind of the server side tracking through Shopify APIs and um, kind of other means to uh, bypass kind of your own hosting platform and things like that. Or you can do the option that I am looking at, is having a third party provider just handle all the setting up your own server and things like that for the server side tracking, and then connecting it to your Shopify store through Google Tag Manager. Um, Now, there is a little bit more involved in doing that rather than just going the app, but the difference is, if you go purely just the app, I'm seeing prices range from $50 a month to $250 a month, versus if you do it via a third party app that uses the Google Tag Manager. Those prices are kind of ranging between 15 and 50. So significantly cheaper to go the Google Tag Manager option. It is a little bit more technical to set up, but I think I don't think anyone wants to be paying $250 a month for server-side tracking. Um, Especially small small businesses. And another SEO business that I partner with on some projects, we were talking about this today, and we were actually comparing it, because all our shared clients, I've set up a backup that's using the server-side tracking, whereas they have the customer-side tracking in place. And yeah, the revenue and the traffic missing from the customer side tracking is around 20 to 30%. So it's significant, especially for big brands. Um, and uh, the server side tracking, the revenue's basically spot on with Shopify. Now, even though it is spot on, there will still be a part in your Google Analytics 4 that says not set. So even if the referral source or where that traffic came from isn't known, it won't leave it out of the Google Analytics. It'll put it in there as not set. Um, and I also, what I do find too is bigger clients that may be using Shopify, the point of sale device, those sales go through in the not set category as well, which can kind of blow out of proportion how much of the revenue is being attributed to not set, because it wouldn't have been tracked from customer tracking anyway. It's only being able to be tracked because of the server-side tracking, sending the data from Shopify back to Google Analytics 4. But this week, I'm doing a deep dive into server-side tracking, and I think next week, I'll hopefully present a viable alternative and a recommended company that you guys can use to kind of implement this if you want it, especially if you are super technically minded like I am, and you're comparing your Google Analytics 4 data to what you're seeing in Shopify, and it's just way off in terms of you're missing a lot of revenue and you're missing a lot of sessions. So, and to be honest, I think 90% of business owners aren't even aware that there's server-side tracking and customer-side tracking. They would have no idea what the difference is. And from like a Google Ads buying perspective, sure, having this in place makes the Google ad numbers better because you're getting more data through and more sales data through. But I would almost argue that they're all vanity metrics in the platform. I want as much data in there as I can to make better decisions on the products. It's not to make the Google Ads data look better. It's like, hey, if I'm missing 20 to 30% of the data, that means I'm missing 20 to 30% of the sales in the Google Ads that we could be using to optimize your campaigns and kind of drive more traffic if those products are actually generating sales. So I think the tracking is both important for Google Ads, both important for SEO, and it's also really important for any other kind of marketing channels that you are using, even Facebook, TikTok, um, all those kind of platforms. So if this is the first time that you're hearing of server-side tracking versus kind of client-side or customer-side tracking, what I would recommend is for you to open up your Google Analytics for and compare your traffic numbers to your Shopify numbers. And if it's way off, I can guarantee you're not, well, I won't say guarantee, but I can almost say with pretty strong confidence that you don't have server-side tracking available in your Google Analytics for.
That's yeah, really good advice, Jimmy. Um, even I was looking the other day with one of my clients, and I was actually responsible for setting up the analytics. This is, another agency that they deal with on the paid side. And I noticed there's a huge amount of direct traffic that's attributed to direct traffic. And I'm like, this doesn't, I can't be certain, but it didn't seem right that so much traffic was attributed to direct versus either organic or paid. Um, and I kind of raised this point with them, and they didn't seem to quite know what could be done here. So I
I
know
see it
that
a
there's a
lot too,
lot of
and
different variables involved
I will
in
say
tracking, and
if you are getting a lot of direct traffic, the first thing you want to check is if you're spending a lot of money on Google Ads, you actually want to make sure that automatic tagging's turned on, because if you don't have that turned on, sometimes it can land in organic traffic or it can land in direct. The other big one for direct traffic is they're using email marketing quite extensively, but they don't have UTMs on any of their links going back to the website, so it'll go through as direct because they they can't they don't track, depending on where they're opening their emails, they're not able to track that, so it just goes into the direct traffic. But it's also the same in text message marketing. If you don't have a UTM on that link in the text message, it'll go direct. So usually if you've got a really high percentage of direct traffic and it's not the case, you're usually driving traffic from somewhere else in a link that's not tracked properly. And Google can't see that, so they put it in direct. Even even if you have a YouTube channel and the links in the descriptions, they should still come from YouTube. Google should know that they're from YouTube, but that's just an example. Like, you just want to make sure all your links are tagged in important traffic sessions, and you want to make sure um, that the advertising platforms that you're using, you have some kind of tracking template, either UTMs or making sure that the automatic tagging of links is turned on, because otherwise, yeah, it will end up in that direct kind of traffic basket, which is useless because
yeah,
you don't get any indication of where your traffic's coming from. So if you look at, you might have say you've got 1 million users and they're all from direct. You're like, oh great, where am I going to spend my advertising budget? Um, because you have no
you're going
idea where
blind.
those
Yeah,
direct users, how they've heard about you or where they've come from.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got no idea. You're going in blind in terms of where you should be allocating your money and your budget. Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
useful advice.
I would recommend to Charles, if you do have clients that aren't on the server side, potentially looking, once I've sorted an alternative, I'll show it to you as well. But
Yeah, that'd be good.
yeah, I can almost guarantee if you implement server-side tracking, you'll probably get a 20% jump in your organic results from what you're able to present.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it's something I must admit uh I wasn't aware of. It's not an area that I've delved into enough detail in. So yeah, that'll be interesting to have a conversation about on one of our future chats, Jimmy. To certainly will, I'm
Yeah,
sure will help people that are listening
I
in and
think
watching in.
I think at the moment, for myself personally, like where I'm going to create content, like I want to explain all this to clients, but I don't want to explain it to everyone individually. So I am going to create myself like a client portal where clients will get a free account into this portal, and I'll be able to run through all the things that are working for us, things that we've tested, why tracking is important, and be like, and if they want to know more about it, it's like, go watch this video. If you've got questions, we can chat about it after that. But at least you'll have a baseline knowledge of what we're talking about. And then, other things that I'd like them to implement, like push notifications. I really want a lot of my clients on that. The importance of email marketing. I want to run that through in a video kind of content, and then basically have a hub of content for my clients. But then I'm also thinking, well, if I'm creating that content, then I may as well create a separate. I don't want my clients in a community with, people that just want to educate themselves. So I probably have one. I probably do. This is what I'm thinking, just brainstorming. I probably have the client hub on Kajabi, and I'd probably set up another community on School for people that wanted to learn more about that stuff. Basically, the same content that I'd be sharing with my clients directly. But yeah, then I'd also like to get some other specialists in there to talk about their own stuff too. So yeah, be an interesting phase, but I think tracking's so important and it's just overlooked. Oh, the first thing when I audit a Google Ads account, the first thing that I go in to check is their tracking, and I would say 7 out of 10, the tracking needs to be fixed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those areas which, unless you have, decent knowledge of it, it can feel a little bit overwhelming, can't it? And it's trying to kind of navigate around and troubleshoot is not the easiest for, someone who's trying to run an e-commerce store and, like you said, is wearing multiple hats. And it's probably the last thing they want to do is delve in. But it is very important to get fixed, because if you're looking at the wrong data, then you could be going down and focusing on a strategy that is not relevant and is not going to help you grow.
Yeah, like for example, just say your Facebook or even your Google ads aren't tagged properly. Say they're all going to organic, and say you're spending 10 grand a month on Google ads, and the tagging has been set up properly and it's all showing up in Google organic, and you think, oh, my SEO is doing great. Like, we're not getting hardly any results from Google paid, so we'll turn them off, and then next month your business tanks, and you're like, what happened? Like, we weren't getting any results from Google Ads. Yeah, you were getting a lot of sales from Google Ads. You just weren't tracking it properly, so you made a decision on bad data.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean it's definitely super important, but yeah, I didn't want to get into the super technical side of tracking because one, I'm still going through it myself at the moment, and there's a lot to digest, and it's not even when you're on YouTube researching it, it's not a simple like 10-minute video. All these videos are 50 minutes long. So it can get like quite exhausting going through it all constantly. But yeah, hopefully if not next week, in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to at least present a viable option for those interested in the server-side tracking. I know a lot of people just starting out, they're probably not even going to be interested in server-side tracking, but if you're spending, you know, $10,000 plus on any form of advertising, you're gonna want this. Like, it's gonna be important.
Yeah, I completely agree. Cool. Well, I think that takes us up pretty much to the hour mark.
Yeah, that was good. A bit of a light-hearted SEO discussion, and then yeah, a bit of insight into tracking server side versus customer slash client side. So yeah, nice way to round out. I learnt a bit about SEO. It's given me some idea. I think the gauge of a good show for me is if I'm listening, I'm like come away with some good ideas. I'm like, if I'm listening to you speak, Charles, and I'm coming away with some good ideas, then I'd hope the audience would be doing the same. So yeah, that's all I can hope. And yeah, hope you've learned something about server side tracking.
No, yeah, I certainly have. I wasn't even aware of it. So, yeah, no, it's certainly something I'm going to be looking into in a bit more detail, and yeah, certainly interested to hear your take on it. Hopefully, in a couple of weeks' time. So,
And if
no,
if
that'd
you
be
guys want any more details, you can check us out on Shopify Marketing Secrets on Instagram and
Facebook, you
sorry,
mean?
on Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah.
on Facebook. And yeah, jump in there and ask some questions. And yeah, we're happy to help help you guys out at the moment. But until then, we'll see you next week.